Uh-oh, the countdown is completed. I'm late to my own stream. Sorry, just another moment here, guys. Just finishing getting ready. Be right on in a moment. Hello, everybody. Just a moment here. Just wanna... There we go. Just gonna stop the music for now because it drives me a bit crazy. Sometimes I can't really focus. All right. Well, hello. To whoever is watching, thank you for watching this either during the stream or after. I really do appreciate it. Sorry if you see that I'm looking down. I'm trying to check out stuff on the screen here. Camera, all right. Okay, yeah, sorry if this is a bit kind of scuffed, a bit weird. It's like I haven't done this in a while, so thought I'd get back into it, you know, get back into the astrology, get some more practice in, that kind of thing. Just kind of see where it goes, you know, just doing this, just decide to resurrect the YouTube channel now, do that, and just, you know, see where this takes me. Yeah, so basically this stream's just basically me talking about the astrology for the week. Like I said, getting back into it. I know, like, I've had work, I've had other stuff going on. I haven't really had a chance to, you know, really get back into doing this that much. And I kind of missed it, want to get back into it. So hopefully, yeah, we can have it all work out. Sorry for the long wait time there for anybody watching this video, either during stream or afterwards. I'll put chapter markers and stuff in, just so that people can kind of skip this part or skip the beginning. They don't want to watch the countdown. Obviously, streaming on YouTube is a little bit new to me, so I just kind of have to get used to it here. And of course, get ready to, you know, get ready for everything to start streaming and all that. So, yeah, hope everybody's doing well. Everything going fine for everyone. Not too much updates from me, if anybody's really interested, if anybody actually really watched me before. Again, I'm just kind of getting started doing this again. So, you know, this week, like I said, I don't know how scuffed this stream is going to be or how, you know, well I'm going to do this. I really haven't done this in like months, and I was new at it before to begin with anyway. So, yeah, so hopefully this goes well. Hopefully people enjoy it. I really don't have much else to say, to be honest. Now we could get into some of the astrology for this week. I'm kind of just going to be going over some of the major highlights, really. There may be some other things I might touch on. And we'll just kind of see what happens. I don't really want to spend too much time, just because I don't want these streams to be like super long or anything like that. I just kind of want to, you know, say what I got to say, because people got to live too, right? So they're not going to sit here and watch some dude on the internet for like an hour that they barely know, especially since I'm just kind of starting out doing this. So, yeah. Anyways, we'll try to keep it as short and simple as possible and just kind of keep things, you know, as poignant to the energy as possible that's going on right now. You know, like the world is changing. I think the last time I did this, Pluto was still in Capricorn. Now we're in Aquarius and, well, retrograding back into Capricorn soon, but I mean, we're almost in it. We're almost in it for the long haul, for 20 years. 20 years of technological advances, AI, all that kind of stuff, possible disclosure, power to the people, more connectedness, maybe types of decentralization, that kind of stuff happening. Those would be some of the kind of the highlights of that. But yeah, that's not really so much for this week. That's kind of just in general. All right, since we're already kind of talking about the astrology, I got my little cheat here. Anyway, quarter moon today. Hope that's treating everybody all right. Very mercurial quarter moon. Quarter moon in Virgo with the sun in Gemini. Okay, let me just see if I can get everything up here and then kind of get started. Hopefully that screen switches over. I'm just going to wait to double check to make sure. Come on, latency's not that much, YouTube. Let's go. There we go. Okay, everything's looking good. All right, perfect. Okay, switch my other one over to... So I'm going to start this off. We're going to start off tomorrow. Well, I mean, from when I'm streaming this now for people watching this. For people watching this after, it's not going to be tomorrow. It's going to be May 28th of 2023. All right, take a look here. The big thing... Really, the only kind of major thing that I want to touch on for today would be Sun square Saturn. So it's kind of interesting. Been kind of thinking about this for a few days, going over the astrology and stuff beforehand. And lo and behold, typically before you do any kind of reading or any kind of, anything like this, whether it's astrology or cards or whatever, you kind of get like hits or intuitive messages like beforehand, like prior to starting. And I mean, that can happen like days beforehand, depending on when it's scheduled. Once you know that you're going to do it, it's kind of like things start coming to you, right? And yeah, you can watch many like spiritual, either YouTubers or teachers and things like that, and they'll kind of talk about a similar thing. Sorry, I'm not used to talking so much. I gotta have water. So like I said, it was interesting last night. I actually had a dream about this transit. So these transits kind of build. So we're already really in this Sun square Saturn. So I'm going to get into the dream into a second. But just kind of the basics of the Sun and Saturn, Sun square Saturn, is it's a bit of a difficult aspect. I mean, any aspect with Saturn can be somewhat kind of difficult. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. It rules, goals, work, career, bosses, sometimes parental figures. It can be, fear, boundaries or ability to say no, those types of themes. Excuse me. And of course, with it being in Pisces is, it's a deeply intuitive, like, water sign. Pisces is very dreamy, very emotional, very kind of out there. And obviously with this square to the sun in Gemini, Gemini is, mercurial. It's ruled by Mercury. It's about the mind, communication, wanting to find clarity, communicate, get the thoughts out there. If I try to figure things out, what's logical, right? So this is kind of a unique square kind of in that sense, but the dream, what I kind of wanted to get at here is this aspect of Saturn regarding like maybe work or career or your goals, because the dream I had last night was regarding an old boss. So, it's like the old boss in the dreams and kind of the fear surrounding that and regarding that. I don't really want to say it was a nightmare. I mean, maybe some people consider that to be a nightmare. I suppose dreaming about your boss for most people probably would be a nightmare. But it didn't really kind of seem like that for me. Sometimes in the dreams, I feel more disconnected emotionally than connected, especially if there's a certain message for the dream where they don't want you to necessarily feel certain emotions. But there was an emotional aspect to it, though. From what I remember, but it wasn't like necessarily as intense enough to make it like a nightmare, or maybe the stress and the fear that I felt maybe like in real life during either that time or thinking about it after the fact. But it kind of got me thinking as like, oh, okay, that may be an aspect of, this type of transit that is coming up, and we're dealing with, communication, Gemini through, our dreams, Pisces, and regarding, the sun illuminating, career goals, maybe the things we fear in such ways, bosses, those kinds of things. So this kind of transit today could be bringing up those kinds of themes. Now, another aspect of this as well could be creativity. Pisces is a very creative sign. This could be communicating or bringing more to light those aspects of creativity in regards to our goals, work. Don't really want to say bosses and that. I think it's more personal goals, that kind of thing. Maybe creatively dealing with your bosses, maybe. Pisces can also deal with, it's very emotional, very sensitive. So there may be like an aspect of compassion, maybe that may have to exist within that. And that might have been key to the dream that I had as well. That aspect of compassion, maybe forgiveness for the experiences that I had, around that time surrounding that specific job and area of my life. Right? That could have been the message that might have been illuminated in that sense. So obviously this aspect, it has been building basically all of this past week. So you may have had themes surrounding that coming up. Of course, Saturn is also about putting in the work with the Sun square Saturn. It might be communications regarding that, or just feeling that need to really put in the work, put in an effort, or bring to light. This square, it brings about conflict, right? So it's that conflict in regards to, bringing to the surface things that need resolution, right? And there might be a message involved in that. And in this case, possibly an intuitive message as well regarding Pisces. And as well, Saturn in Pisces is almost like, Saturn in Capricorn is like structure, and Pisces is basically no structure. It's water. It's the fact that water can dissolve that structure. So Saturn in Pisces can very much be dissolving of that structure. So that could be part of the message as well. Things that maybe come up, those fears that maybe come up regarding, where we felt restricted in our lives through bosses, through parents, through those types of things, through aspects of top-down control. That's another aspect of like Capricorn, is that aspect of control through corporations, through governments, through those kinds of things. Those fears could be coming up for, or aspects of that coming up for disillusionment, to dissolve those kinds of things. So again, that's another aspect of this happening today, or not today, Sunday. I want to say it today as if I'm talking about today, but again, forgive me, please. I haven't done this in a while. I'm just getting back into this. Maybe a live stream starting this off wasn't the best decision in the world. But I guess in a way you get to see kind of like how real this is, and live streams can be kind of fun that way. So another interesting aspect to Saturn that we have today is with Venus in this sesquiquadrate or sesquisquare to Saturn. So again, these are topics that may be frustrating regarding our relationships, careers, maybe those relationships where we felt restricted in that sense, right? Because Venus is in Cancer and wants to feel comfortable and wants to feel nurtured, whereas Saturn isn't very nurturing. It's the opposite sign of Cancer, where it's more, it draws those boundaries, it sets those limits. It's kind of more like the boss, right? So there may be a frustration here, something coming up in regarding to that, things that, can no longer be swept under the rug in that sense, that need to be brought to light as well, with regarding maybe some aspect of communication through this square. So again, that is something that can come up with that day. And again, so on this day as well, Moon in Virgo, nearing the end of Virgo after the first quarter square on Saturday. So remember, we did have this new moon just at the end of Taurus, and now we're kind of shifted into Gemini. So we're shifted into this mercurial space. But that new moon kind of signaled still that Taurian energy that we had, last week, and towards more new and abundant spaces as well. May have possible changes in direction as it was at the end of Taurus. Still, it would have been within 8 degrees, I guess, of a conjunction to Uranus, but that energy would still somewhat play a bit of a role there. Okay. So yeah, again, so we're still in that first quarter, well, not really, but it's the next day after that quarter square. We're still in this mercurial energy. So again, it's kind of looking at the details of maybe where we want to put ourselves forward now, communicating more focusing day to day in our environment kind of types of things as we move forward into this new space, or seeing, we're kind of starting to, and then we're going to see maybe at this full moon that we'll get to at the end of the week, maybe where we need to expand more and move forward in certain directions. So let's take a look now at Monday. So again, I want to try to keep this as short as possible. I think I've already been on here for like 25 minutes. Sorry about the long wait again for the start of this. I will put chapters in again so that people can skip ahead if they want to see. And yeah. Okay, so moon. So there's not really too many aspects peaking today. The moon does enter into Libra. Let's just gonna check to see what major aspects. We're gonna oppose Neptune, so there could be like more of a dreamy relationship kind of vibe, emotional, maybe a sensitive type of vibe. Also a creative vibe as well. Libra's kind of about the aesthetic, beauty, that kind of thing. Excuse me. And Pisces about, the dream, the fantasy, that creative aspect. So maybe there's an emotional balancing that happens in that sense. You're on Monday. Just looking at what other aspects it's going to make. Trine to Pluto. Sextile to Mars. Yeah, we got that Mars. Mars still kind of in opposition to Pluto there as it's transiting through Leo. And aspecting the nodes as well. We're going to talk about that more later in the week, with Jupiter coming into conjunct the North Node as well. So, and the moon is going to kind of aspect that, I think, in a few days, once we get to it. I don't know if that's around Thursday or, maybe around Thursday. Middle of the week sometime. And we may feel some more intense emotional energy, things kind of being brought up. So we're kind of enjoy this creative energy that we have with the moon in Libra. You may want to have a bit more of a peaceful day moving forward, like I said, after that quarter square. So let's just have a look. I'm going to move on to Tuesday now here, see where we're at. Yeah, so we're going to have the moon opposition Chiron as well. So this may be a bit, maybe emotional, activating our wound of, independence, of ourself. Trying to find balance in that, and maybe relationships to help us with that, right? Because we did, remember, the moon was in trine to that Pluto, so it's making connection, disconnecting, maybe in regards to our relationships. Maybe we need to follow that creative flow to find these new connections, these new ways. Remember, we did have that new moon in Taurus, which is wanting to bring us into that better new space, right? That was after the eclipse season, after that eclipse of that, moon in Scorpio, where you just kind of, it's a time of release, right? That just let it all out. Let it all out. Let out what isn't working for you, right? Because they're dealing with the nodes as well, South Node in Scorpio, North Node in Taurus. We want to move it into a direction of more abundance, of, more what's going to make us feel good and get rid of that which doesn't. All right, we're going to take a look at Tuesday here. There's some minor aspects happening again. I don't really want to touch on a lot of that, as that's just going to extend the time, of this stream too much. I want to try to keep this, on point as much as possible. All right, so just going to move to Wednesday here. What do we got? Yeah. So I'm just going to move ahead some hours. There is something I want to talk about here. The moon enters. We'll go to the... Okay. Change my focus. That's kind of hitting on what I want. All right, so Wednesday evening, we're going to have the moon ingress Scorpio. So this is what I was kind of, I can talk, sorry. What I was kind of alluding to earlier. So with the moon in Scorpio, it's kind of going to be an ingress, and we're going to kind of be sitting on the south node here. So we're going to be activating this nodal axis, which is going to be activating these points as well. Mars opposition Pluto. as well as Jupiter coming into direct conjunction with the North Node, which I believe happens on Thursday. So the moon is going to be activating somewhat of an emotional point now in regards to this grand square that is kind of happening here. So we got Mars in Leo opposition Pluto in Aquarius, and then we've got Jupiter in Taurus on top of the North and South nodes, squaring these points as well as the North node squaring them. Right? So they're all kind of working together in like this grand square, really forcing, I don't want to say conflict, I wanted to say conflict, almost like forcing a conflict of like change. Because with the South Node here in Scorpio, and especially with this aspect of Pluto, there's an aspect of transformation that is being pushed to happen. This transformation can involve, other Scorpio themes as well, involving like secrets, things needing to be brought to the surface to be released. Remember, the North Node is here in Taurus, and we've got Jupiter here. So Jupiter is expanding this movement forward into a new space, right? So, and it's this new positive space, this new positive direction that we're moving in. It's more abundant direction. Jupiter wants to bring positivity, wants to bring abundance. And it's expanding this North Node's movement forward in that direction. But in that, it's also opposing the South Node, which also gives it power. So Jupiter expands whatever it touches. So in this case, whatever it's aspecting, coming into conjunction with the North Node, squaring this Pluto and Mars, and opposite the South Node. So not only do we already have intense energy with this Mars opposition Pluto, and with the South Node in Scorpio, now the moon coming onto it, we have Jupiter touching all of these points, expanding that even further. Right? So we may see more and more revelations start to come out of certain things that need to come to the surface. Now, this could obviously be in the public space, and which it will. It's just the way that we're headed, that's just what's going to happen. This is going to be on a personal level as well. I'm not saying that all your skeletons in your closet are going to be coming out. I mean, possibly. That's a possibility. But this is also facing the shadow side of ourselves. Facing that stuff, releasing that which is not serving us any longer, right? To move into this more positive space, you can't be dragging with you all of the baggage. You can't be dragging with you all the shit that's just no longer working. It needs to be released, that needs to be let go of, that needs to be transformed. Right? And that may go along with like that frustrating Saturn aspect that I talked about, coming up on Sunday, and that was building the prior week of, maybe where we need to put the work into so that we can move forward, so that we can release. I mean, Saturn can deal with fears as well, and that stuff can come up. Scorpio, definitely. Scorpio very much, and especially with the moon here, reminding me of the moon card in tarot. If you've ever seen it, it's basically, I think it's a full moon that's in the background. It's got all these little creepy crawlies and stuff kind of at the bottom of the card. That's what needs to be looked at and released, illuminated, by the moon in a sense. But I think the moon is more of our subconscious. These are could possibly be subconscious things that need to come to the surface for release, or subconscious things that are bubbling up that we're like, hey, I didn't even realize I was doing that. Didn't even realize that was happening. Right? We've got Pluto here, this transformative aspect, and Mars and Leo in oppositions. This is pushing for action to transform, for freedom, to build a new connection, to take this action to bring things up into the spotlight. Leo's the spotlight. It wants to be in the spotlight, right? And with an aspect to this Scorpio, South Node and Scorpio moon here, it's bringing that, it's helping to take action to bring that to the surface. These are giving it power, this Pluto-Mars opposition. It's very much giving it that, the power that it needs to come up, right? And Scorpio is very powerful in its own right. Certainly don't doubt that. So this huge grand square with these oppositions happening, it's like so much, right? Like when you think about it, it's like there's a T square here, there's a T square here, a T square here, a T square here. A T square in and of itself is difficult to deal with in transit or in your own chart, let alone a big grand square of all of this stuff happening all together at once. So we're going to begin to see more of these revelations happening. And again, this has already been starting to aspect. Jupiter just recently came into Taurus. Obviously, the nodes were at this place before. Pluto has been aspecting the nodes. Mars coming into Leo, starting to aspect it. So this stuff has been building up already. And we're only going to see more and more of the shit hitting the fan coming out. It may not necessarily be hitting, well, it could be hitting the fan, but it's stuff coming to the surface. But I think, you know, we also need to realize with this that this could be our own stuff coming up as well. When we see it happening in the outer world, don't forget to maybe look in the mirror first to see, you know what, maybe I've got some skeletons in my closet too that I need to have a look at as well that may be coming to the surface during this time, right? Because we can't move forward into this positive, abundant direction while carrying on this baggage of the past that needs to be released and let go of, right? You can't be in a high vibration when you're being weighed down by low vibrational stuff. And that's a lot of what this really is about. And this is really pushing, like, people may reference, oppositions and squares as negative aspects, but they push for resolution. That's what this is doing. These are squares, oppositions, pushing for resolution in this sense, right? So we're going to see a lot more of this stuff kind of coming up. And like I said, this is not just this week. I'm mentioning this because we're going to have the moon enter into Scorpio. So we may kind of feel as this happens late on the 31st here on Wednesday into Thursday, we may feel this more like emotional intensity because we've got this Mars square, this Pluto square, this Jupiter opposition expanding this so much. With the moon here, we're probably going to feel that. So if you feel in the middle of the week like things are intense, things are feeling like they're being brought up, you're not sure, maybe you're feeling anxiety, feeling other things, that might be kind of normal for this time. So, if that's happening, get the help you need if you have mental health issues or anxiety issues, whatever. But definitely if you need to talk to someone that may be part of this release that that needs to happen. It's emotional release that needs to happen. So there may be an emotional aspect of this that is now coming up into the spotlight regarding, all of this stuff. So just be wary of that. I know lately, me as a Cancer, obviously for Cancer, we're ruled by the moon. And, that's why Cancers are so moody, because the moon shifts signs basically every couple of days. So, if halfway through the day, if the moon shifts a sign and, Cancer, and all of a sudden they were really happy in the morning and now they're just off depressed and crying in the corner, well, that's, moon could have shifted into Scorpio or something else to make them, feel emotional or something like that, right? So just be wary of that. This could be an emotionally intense time happening in the middle of the week. However, it's just going to be an intense time for the next little while as this grand square and these transits, are still in effect. So yeah. It's going to touch a bit more on that nodal stuff, but I think I will leave that for now. I just kind of really wanted to mention that because I think that's going to be kind of a main point happening this week, and to just kind of be wary of that as well. What else is happening? Do I want to talk about that? I mean, I don't know. There's Biquintile happening with the Sun and the South Node here as well, Sun and Gemini. There may be an aspect of communication behind the scenes, work being put in behind the scenes to maybe communicate some of the stuff that is coming out. This minor aspect deals with a lot of more of like kind of the behind the scenes kind of things, right? Or putting in the work behind the scenes. This could be putting in the work behind the scenes to release and heal that stuff as well. And bringing it, maybe releasing it, communicating it in some way. Yes, if you feel you need therapy in the middle of the week, don't be afraid to reach out to someone. But yeah, I think a lot of this, it's going to happen on a personal level as well. For some people, a lot of people possibly, like this is going to affect us all in our own unique ways. And obviously, depending on how this falls in your chart is how that's going to happen. But very much on a more grander scale, like when we're talking through like mundane astrology, what I'm doing here. Very much so, it's going to be more things coming to the surface and coming to light. Especially with Pluto ingressing Aquarius here, this is giving power to the people. This is releasing, what has taken our power away, possibly bringing things into the spotlight, right? We want to be more in our heart space. We want to take action in a more leadership. This leadership kind of versus people and connections, right? So that could be something. Wasn't really expecting my train of thought to kind of go in that direction in that sense, but that kind of just came out of me, so think of that what you will. Anyways, let's just take a move now 2 days. Let's go to Thursday. So Thursday, this is going to be the big day. Oh, one thing I just want to go back to Wednesday here. So on Wednesday, we have Mercury at, 1557. So at around 1536, I think, is when Mercury went retrograde. So Mercury actually leaves its shadow finally on Wednesday. So probably Wednesday afternoonish, mountain time according to this, where I am. So yeah, it's finally over. I mean, the retrograde has been over. Things are direct now. We're kind of moving. Mercury's picking up speed. Things are moving ahead, right? But it's going to be at the end of those retrograde type themes. So anything that happened pre-shadow during the retrograde that kind of needed more once-over near the end, realizing maybe things that are coming to mind regarding those Taurus themes around, career, relationships, money, those kinds of things, what's going to make us feel better, feel good, make us feel more abundant in our lives. That stuff, coming up and going over those spaces, realizing, maybe what we needed to change in that sense. I mean, that's why retrogrades happen. That's why Mercury retrogrades happen. It focuses on more of like our life stuff, day-to-day life, the finer things, our communication, technology, what we kind of need to fix and rework in those areas. In this case, it was surrounding, a lot of those Taurus themes and also our values and what we value as well. Of course, that ties into the money aspect too. Right, so the themes of the retrograde are ending. Mercury is still in Taurus, so there may be some of that still trailing behind. The main themes may be over, but what you've recognized and what you needed to move forward with, communicate with, changes you need to make regarding that will still continue with these Taurian themes as Mercury moves ahead, right? And possibly even until the next retrograde or until you've needed to, rectify whatever came up during that transit. Okay, again now, Thursday, June 1st, start of a new month. Wow, we're into June, holy crap. Gemini, so the last part of Gemini, and then Cancer season. All right, so on this day, we have the exact conjunction of Jupiter and the North nodes. This is moving forward into more positive like I said, positive, abundant directions. And also more letting go of, like I said, that what's not serving us. We need to transmute a lot of that stuff from the past that is no longer serving us, right? Bring the stuff up, keep what we need to keep. It's like going through an old closet. It's like, wow, I didn't have this. Maybe I could use this, but anything that is no longer necessary for you, it's gotta go. It's gotta go. It's gotta be dumped, because we're expanding into this new area, expanding into this new abundant life. You're not going to have room in this more abundant space for all of that old shit. You know, so you got to only take what you need through this. And with the moon here as well, this could, again, it's still in Scorpio. Like I said, it started Wednesday into Thursday here. And so any of that emotional baggage that's still around, it's got to go. See, what is the moon kind of aspect that day? It's opposing Mercury. So maybe, I almost want to say mental health stuff, maybe that realized maybe need to be released or talked about in some way. Something going on behind the scenes with our personal wounds as well. Maybe being transmuted with this triseptile to Chiron. The minor aspects are no joke, right? I mean, I'm learning more and more about them, and I want to learn more about them. I find them quite fascinating. In fact, when I look at transits to my own chart in my own life, I find sometimes the minor transits have a very strong effect, especially internally, like more internalized for me in my personal life, as well as, you know, mentally, emotionally, in that kind of way. They can bring about a lot of changes and revelations in that sense, and also minor things that we may not normally necessarily pay attention to, even outwardly in our lives. So that's not something to really shy away from or just say no to in that sense. But yeah, Jupiter is jumping to that north node. It's like later in the day. I have this set for around 9 p.m. Mountain Time, and we're basically just over that direct conjunction point. So yeah, this says more abundance moving forward. We're wanting to move forward in that more positive and abundant direction, right? We don't want to be stuck in the past. And Jupiter is expanding this. Jupiter is expanding this nodal axis. This has been a theme even like 6 months ago when I was doing videos and streams before, and I left on a 6 months hiatus. And hey, now I'm back. This nodal theme, it's been a thing for that time. And Jupiter is expanding us into this more positive direction. We've ditched a lot of stuff. We've gone through a lot of hell, right? It's time to move forward in this new direction, but it's also expanding and releasing the secrets that Scorpio has held deep within. It's penetrating deep to the bottom of that, whatever needs to be released, and letting it out. So we may see more revelations of stuff happening this week, happening around this time period, or at the very least, the seeds of that being put forward. I'm just noticing here this sextile to Saturn in Pisces. Like I said, this is the dissolving of that control of those old structures. With this sextile, this could also be this creative, more moving forward in a more creative way. Our goals may be more creative, more spiritual, more compassionate, more emotional in moving forward into this new positive space. Because forgiveness and compassion helps us to release this to move forward into that positive space as well. And it's a creative energy. It's more grounding in a lot more of that creative energy and expanding that, nurturing that abundance in moving forward. All right, I think that's kind of all I want to mention on that. What else is happening? I wasn't really going to touch on this, but just going to notice Mercury also on this day is in square to Black Moon Lilith in Leo. So we may, like I said, we may see things coming into the spotlight. You know, Black Moon Lilith is where we felt shoved off to the side, thrown out, like ways of thinking that don't fit into, you know, the dynamics of patriarchy of society in that sense. And in Leo, we want to see that from a place of love, and we may want to bring it out, but I feel like it's more kind of in the spotlight in this sense. Scoring Mercury, this forces communication in some way to bring us to this better space. I mean, this is this feminine energy in Taurus, and Black Moon Lilith is that feminine energy that was, you know, tossed to the side, but that knows the secrets. It's kind of like that masculine feminine energy. It's the feminine power, feminine knowing her power and understanding that and coming up into the spotlight in some way. But there's like a secretiveness underneath that. It's like, as a feminine energy, it's like, I'm allowed to know things too. I'm allowed to take action on things too. I can do these things as well. I can also be independent. I know this stuff. It's that rebel feminine energy. And so we need to, yeah, there could be some stuff coming out again regarding that as well. Especially Taurus. Taurus always wants to feel good. It's that stubborn energy. If it's in a place where it doesn't want to be, it's going to tell you, and it's going to take action on that, right? Yeah. That might be something to watch out for that day as well. It's like middle of the week might be kind of interesting. We'll have to see what happens. All right. Well, anyway, I'm getting close to the hour mark here. I don't want to spend too much time. All right. What am I doing here? I want to move to Friday. Friday. All right, so on Friday, what are the major things that's happening when I talk? Major things that is happening on Friday. So Venus here in trine to Neptune. So with this transit, it could feel this can bring like a romantic vibe. This could bring like rose-colored glasses kind of a vibe. Again, that's regarding relationships as well. This could also be a very creative time. Creative in terms of the Venus type energies, so either with food, with other people, with, you know, how we feel good, how we spend our leisure time. In Cancer, it's, you know, with this Cancer and Pisces energy, you could feel very lazy. You could just feel like you want to sleep, or maybe you just want to stay home, maybe watch a romantic movie, do something creative, something along those lines. It's very strong, positive, feminine, flowing type of energy. So maybe from all the other stuff that I've talked about previously this week, you might just want to chill on Friday. Might be the kind of the vibe. But again, it's just kind of bringing in that dreamy type of energy. And it's a trine, so it's a positive type of energy. So again, it's a lazy kind of, you know, that kind of aspect. So just kind of keep that in mind for Friday. Might be good for maybe a chill kind of a Friday night for the end of the week. One thing I did want to mention on this day as well, kind of the honorable mention that if you check the description that I did mention here, is Juno is making minor aspects to the nodes. So now there is this sesqui-square to the south node and the semi-square to the north node here. So this semi-square, it's kind of like a square. So it's kind of this frustration in this case in pushing forward in this new direction. And with this sesqui-square, sesqui-quadrate to the south node in Scorpio, kind of what do we need to release? What needs to come to the surface in regards to our committed partnerships? So now, Juno represents committed partnerships. So this could be in business. This could be romantically. So romantically, either like a long-term committed partnership or relationship. It could be a marriage. on business. This could be business contracts, business partnerships. And again, I'm kind of just getting now, it could be between like business to business or like the people in those businesses, the partnerships that they have. But this is like a committed, I almost want to say contract based, but not necessarily maybe in terms of like personal relationships, as they're kind of contract based, like through marriage, yes. But if it's just a long-term relationship, like it's 2023, not everybody's going to get married, right? They don't want that. It's too much money. But it's that contractual commitment that you have, whether it's written, verbal, or just kind of insinuated in that sense. Those are the kind of partnerships that Juno here would represent. Being in Gemini, this can represent our communication aspects in that, in a romantic relationship sense. This could possibly be twin flame energy. Don't quote me on that, or divine counterpart type of energy. But definitely it can be encompassing aspects of all of those things. So depending on the kind of committed long-term partnership we're in here, can depend on the type of frustration that's going to come up. The sesqui squares kind of deal with things, frustrations that keep coming up. It's like it's going to keep coming up until you officially face it and deal with it. In this case, it's stuff that's kind of buried, that we've buried away, right? Stuff that can't be swept under the rug any longer. I almost want to say subconsciously in a sense, but it's those little nitty-gritty things. I wouldn't necessarily say that from a business perspective, possibly. If we're looking at this from like business relationship standpoint or business partnerships and contracts, this could be a frustration regarding investments. So Scorpio and Taurus are on the money axis. So Taurus is more about money, abundance, kind of the free flow, positive aspect of that. Scorpio, don't want to say the negative aspect of that, but Scorpio is more of like making the investment or going into debt or other people's money. So there could be an aspect of this that comes up that maybe because of this Gemini here, things that maybe need to be communicated, or frustration around communications regarding that, or frustrations around things that maybe haven't been communicated regarding aspects of debt, aspects of... This could be regarding a commitment or an obsession or an investment in that type of relationship, a frustration regarding that needs to be talked about, that needs to be brought to the surface, that needs to be released so that it can be pushed forward. Again, with this semi-square to the North Node, there's a frustration in moving forward here because there's a frustration with the past or something that needs to be brought to the surface and communicated in some way. So in terms of business partnerships, that probably is most likely around aspects of money and investments. So moving forward into this more abundant space, it could be possibly that things may need to be let go of in terms of an investment. And that could possibly be people. Again, there could be things that can't be swept under the rug in a sense, as maybe we can't have so many people doing certain things. And I don't want to dive, I don't want to get too much into this because that's kind of leaving down a negative space, but it's regarding money, types of investments, certain investments regarding their partnership. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the partnership could dissolve. Excuse me. But the partnership, it could dissolve, but its communication could help it to change in some way to push forward in this more positive and abundant direction, right? Because Jupiter is here on this North Node, wanting to push this forward. And this could be things that need to come up to the surface regarding these partnerships that just can't be overlooked any longer, or that are going to continue to keep coming up until they are looked at before you can move forward, right? In terms of maybe a romantic relationship, like in maybe let's say a divine counterpart twin flame perspective, excuse me, this could be releasing, just more releasing stuff from the past. could be frustrations that have come up, investments, investing maybe in the wrong people, investing in other things emotionally, investing, maybe there is a lot of debt that needs to be dealt with within one or the other in terms of a relationship or partnership. That could be something that has to come up. And again, this is not just from maybe a twin flame divine counterpart perspective, because a lot of those relationships, you're not even in that relationship physically. But from an actual physical committed relationship sense, this could deal with the money aspect as well. Maybe there's an aspect of debt that needs to be faced, something needs to be expanded or changed in order to move forward in a better direction. This could deal with aspects of sex and sexuality that need to come to the surface as well. That's Scorpio energy. That could be from a twin flame divine counterpart perspective as well. It needs to be brought up as something that's not going away. It needs to be released. And again, this could be old things, old subconscious desires or old programmings and desires that maybe need to be released in that sense in order to move forward into this more positive, sensual, abundant type space in terms of that romantic type of relationship. And again, in a partnership where you're already together, this could be like the frustration that maybe something needs to be said. There's possibly some kind of secret that needs to be revealed in order to move forward in a positive, abundant space, because in order to move forward and progress that partnership and that relationship, the secrets need to come out. Or that could also be that commitment that you have may not be, the commitment that is for you, right? And that could change your partnerships in that sense as well. So again, it's just something to notice. This could be more internalized though as well. This could be more internal communication. We're dealing with the minor aspects here, but like I said, minor aspects aren't so minor. So I kind of just brought this up as an honorable mention just to kind of take note and see if kind of maybe what happens on this day and to see what people maybe notice in terms of these themes and these effects of, what is going on. But again, this is about releasing what is no longer serving us from the past and is in regarding aspects of communication, because the nodes here are at 3 degrees, which is a Gemini degree, communicating degree. So this is a release, a communication, of these types of things. And of course, that goes with what I've said about the previous nodal aspects and the Jupiter and Moon being on this point as well. There's a communication aspect of this happening. All right, so that is I think that's all I'm going to say for Friday. So we're going to push forward here. All right. Okay, we're going to move into Saturday. So this is where we're going to have the full moon in Sagittarius. So I'm feeling now, so I go over all the astrology and stuff beforehand just to know the transits and all that, but I don't really get it all. I kind of, as I talk about it doing this just live, is when it more comes to me through this space than it actually does beforehand, which is weird. Minus the fact that, I may have a dream beforehand talking about maybe a certain aspect that needs to be touched on or other things that happen. But now that we've kind of seen the other themes that have gone out throughout this week, again, this full moon is a time of release. But what do we need to release in order to expand? Right? We've got the Jupiter here still on the North Node, right? We're still here, vibing on the North Node in Taurus, wanting to expand into this direction, release what is no longer serving us. But again, with this full moon in Sagittarius, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. It's that expansion, that knowing that there's more than one direction, more than one road where we need to go. It's that abundance, it's the gifts, it's all of that positivity, that space, right? Positive space. I say space because it's, Jupiter's so big. Expanding into space. Okay, but this is with the nodal axis here, and all that I've talked about prior to this point regarding this week is what do we need to expand and release? Especially full moons are about release in order to expand. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is, what do we need to release in order to expand, right? And that goes along very well with this nodal axis with Jupiter on the North Node. And not making opposition, so it's also giving power to the South Node. What do we need to transform? I was going to say kill off, but transform, release, let go of the Scorpio energy here, let go of in order to move forward into this more positive and abundant direction. So there's this Jupiter theme here, and there's a strong Jupiter theme here with this full moon. What needs to be released in order to move forward into this positive space and direction? What needs to be released so that we can expand? And I feel like throughout this week, we've already maybe done a lot of releasing, especially emotionally, prior to this full moon, with the moon in Scorpio, hitting that grand square with Jupiter and Mars and Pluto and all of that. As we head into this space, releasing that stuff subconsciously, that communicating that stuff, I almost want to say releasing those desires. Possibly, that means Scorpio is involved here. Just that release. And with this full moon, it's like the pinnacle possibly of that release, or at least the pinnacle of understanding of that release and what needs to be released in order to expand and move forward, right? Where do we need to expand and move forward? In a more positive direction. This is expanding positively. Like, this is Sagittarius energy. We want to expand positively. This is also higher knowledge, right? And with the Sun in Gemini dealing with aspects of communication, right? We've already dealt with this with the nodes at 3 degrees earlier in the week. Like I said, things could possibly be revealed, come into the spotlight. We have Mars now at 8 degrees, Scorpio degree in Leo, still squaring these points, these nodal points. I mean, it's in a wide opposition. It's not really in opposition anymore. It's wide opposition to Pluto, if you want to consider that. But it, like I said, with Mars and Leo bringing things into the spotlight, revealing things into the spotlight, like what needs to be transformed, Scorpio 8 degrees, transformation, and released to expand and move forward. So I think this could be a very positive full moon. We may not feel it or think it that way through what we may experience during the week, but it will inevitably have that underlying effect as we move forward. Because remember, Jupiter wants to be positive, it's benevolent, and it's in Taurus. It wants to bring abundance, it wants to bring gifts, physical gifts, money, happiness, that feel-good type of energy. It wants to bring you the good food, the good sensuality, the good sex, the good all of that stuff, right? That's where we want to head, into that space. Okay, well, I think that's a good completion for this. Let me just switch back here. Hopefully I'm switching back to the right screen. We're going to find out in a minute if OBS is listening and working for me. And we did. Look at that. Hello, everyone, again. All right, well, thank you for everyone who... Okay, my God, I just looked. We've already been like an hour and 10 minutes into this. See... Try to make a short video, and I can't. Sorry guys, thanks to those who stuck around watching this right to the end. I do appreciate you. Thanks to those who watched during the stream. I appreciate you so much as well. Thank you to anybody watching this at any time and, wanting to support the channel or support me in any way at all whatsoever. If you like this, give it a like. If you didn't, well, you know what to do. If you would like to let me know what you thought of this, your input on this, anything at all like that, feel free to engage in the comments. It helps me out as well. And of course, if you like this, you want to see more content from me, hit that subscribe button and hit that bell for notifications next time I do go live. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, for everything. I really do appreciate it. Have a good week. Take care of yourselves, as always. And enjoy. Bye for now, guys. Bye.